You've been lied to about success. It's not about working harder, hustling 24/7, or waiting for luck. The real secret, tiny, daily habits, things so simple most people ignore them. But ignore them and you'll stay stuck. Here's what no one's telling you. Think about your life right now. The stress, the goals you haven't hit, the days that feel like they're slipping away. What if I told you that the biggest changes don't come from massive overhauls, but from small, consistent actions? Not motivational fluff, real, proven habits that build unstoppable momentum. Let's break them down. The power of starting small. There exists a truth so simple yet so often overlooked that it has kept countless dreams locked away in the realm of someday. It is this. The greatest obstacle standing between you and your ambitions is not the size of the task, but the resistance to begin. The mind, that marvelous yet sometimes deceptive instrument, has a peculiar way of magnifying challenges until they appear insurmountable. It whispers that the book cannot be written until you have hours of uninterrupted time, that the business cannot be launched until every detail is perfected, that the masterpiece cannot be created until inspiration strikes like lightning. But here lies the secret known by those who accomplish extraordinary things. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They begin where they are, with what they have. And the most powerful tool for overcoming resistance is the agreement you make with yourself to engage in the work for just 10 minutes. 10 minutes, a span so brief it cannot reasonably be refused. Consider the writer who rises each morning and commits to filling just one page. The task seems insignificant when viewed in isolation, yet day after day, those pages accumulate. What began as a trickle becomes a river of words. The novel that seemed an impossible dream takes form not through sudden bursts of effort, but through the quiet consistency of daily showing up. The mind, once reluctant to engage, now finds itself drawn into the current of creation. What was difficult becomes familiar, and what was familiar becomes necessary. This principle extends far beyond the act of writing. The entrepreneur who builds an enterprise does so not in grand gestures, but through the steady application of focused effort. Each day brings its small contribution, a conversation had, a problem solved, a lesson learned. The accumulation of these modest investments, made consistently over time, yields returns that defy their humble beginnings. There is profound wisdom in this approach. The 10-minute commitment that disarms resistance by removing the pressure of expectation. It allows you to bypass the fear of failure by making the stakes inconsequentially small. And in doing so, it creates a gateway through which momentum can enter. More often than not, those 10 minutes will stretch to 20, to 30, to an hour. Not because you forced yourself to continue, but because the act of beginning created its own pull. Yet even on those days when 10 minutes is all that can be given, progress has still been made. The thread remains unbroken. The habit remains intact. And habits, as we know, are the invisible architecture of achievement. They operate silently in the background, turning what was once effortful into what becomes effort. The true power of this practice lies not in the time invested, but in the transformation it works upon the mind. With each small victory, confidence grows. With each completed session, proof accumulates that you are someone who keeps commitments to yourself. The identity of the person who achieves great things is built one 10-minute block at a time. So when next you find yourself staring at a task that seems too large to approach, remember, the mountain is climbed, not in a single bound, but step by step. Give yourself permission to begin small. Make the agreement with yourself that you will engage for just 10 minutes. Watch as resistance melts before this modest request, and observe how, over time, these fragments of effort combine to create something far greater than their individual parts. The evening decision that shapes tomorrow. As day gives way to night, most surrender their tomorrow to chance. They close their eyes without direction, waking to a morning devoid of purpose, allowing the currents of circumstance to dictate their course. This is the way of the unremarkable life, reactive rather than directed, shaped by external forces rather than inner resolve. But there exists a practice so simple yet so transformative, that it can alter the trajectory of your days. The nightly selection of a single task to accomplish upon waking. Not a list of demands, not an inventory of wishes, but one clearly defined action that will move you meaningfully forward. This evening ritual performs a quiet alchemy upon the coming day. When you consciously choose your first important action before sleep, you plant in your mind a seed of intention. Through the night, while consciousness rests, this seed takes root in the fertile ground of your You awaken not to confusion, but to clarity. Not to the paralysis of choice, but to the power of knowing exactly where to begin. Consider the student who once struggled mightily with his studies. His evenings ended in exhaustion. His mornings began in hesitation. Books would be opened and closed without progress, as precious hours evaporated in the indecision of what to tackle first. Then came the change. Each night before sleep, he would select just one concept to master the following day. Upon waking, he would move immediately to this predetermined task. No deliberation, no delay, just action. The results astonished even him. What had been a source of frustration became a wellspring of confidence. His understanding deepened not because he studied more hours, but because he eliminated the wasted moments between intention and action. The mental energy previously spent deciding what to do was now channeled entirely into the doing itself. This principle holds true for all endeavors. The business leader who identifies her most critical conversation before retiring finds herself better prepared when the moment arrives. The artist who selects his subject in the evening awakens to find his creative energies already attuned to the work. The mind, when given clear direction in advance, organizes itself around that purpose with remarkable efficiency. There is science behind this phenomenon. Decision-making depletes a finite reserve of mental energy. Each choice we make throughout the day, no matter how small, draws from this common pool. By removing one significant decision from your morning, you preserve this precious resource for the work that matters most. But beyond the practical benefits lies something deeper, the cultivation of mastery over your own life. When you decide in advance how you will begin your day, you assert that your time and energy belong to you. You declare that you are not at the mercy of whatever demands happen to appear, but are instead the architect of your own hours. This practice requires no special tools, no elaborate system. It asks only that you pause each evening to ask yourself, what one thing, if accomplished tomorrow, will make all other things easier or unnecessary? Then commit this intention to memory, or to paper if you prefer. Let it be the last thought you entertain before sleep claims you. You will find in time that this simple discipline creates a ripple effect throughout your days. Mornings become purposeful rather than frantic. Productivity flows from clarity rather than coercion. And perhaps most importantly, you begin each day with an immediate victory. The satisfaction of acting according to plan rather than reacting to circumstance. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary lives often lies in these small but consistent practices. The evening decision is one such practice, a modest investment of attention that yields disproportionate returns. Implement it tonight and awaken tomorrow not to a day that happens to you but to a day that you consciously create. The instant interruption that changes everything. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize their greatest battles are not fought in the external world, but within the quiet chambers of their own mind. Thoughts, those seemingly harmless whispers, hold more power than we dare admit. They shape our days, dictate our actions, and ultimately determine our destiny. Yet most wander through life, unaware of this constant internal dialogue, allowing destructive patterns to take root and flourish unchecked. Consider this: the space between a thought entering your mind and your reaction to it contains all the power you'll ever need. In that brief moment exists the choice to continue down a familiar, worn path of negativity or to consciously redirect your mental energy. The technique is disarmingly simple yet profoundly effective. When a harmful thought appears, you interrupt it immediately with a firm, audible command. The word stop, spoken aloud, acts as a mental circuit breaker, severing the connection before the pattern can complete itself. This is not mere positive thinking or wishful self-deception. It is the deliberate exercise of will over the automatic processes of the mind. Each time you successfully intercept a negative thought, You weaken its neural pathway while simultaneously strengthening your ability to choose your focus. Like a muscle, this capacity grows stronger with consistent use. What begins as a conscious effort gradually becomes second nature, the default setting of a disciplined mind. History's most accomplished individuals all understood this fundamental truth. Mastery begins with mastery of one's thought. The artist who creates timeless works first learns to dismiss doubts about their ability. The leader who inspires nations refuses to entertain thoughts of limitation. The inventor who changes the world trains their mind to see possibilities where others see only obstacles. The beauty of this practice lies in its immediacy. You need not wait for ideal circumstances or special equipment. The moment you recognize an unhelpful thought pattern, whether it's self-doubt, fear, or unnecessary worry, you have the power to halt it in its tracks. This instant intervention prevents the thought from gaining momentum, from spiraling into a cascade of related negative ideas that color your entire outlook. Some will dismiss this as too simplistic, believing complex problems require equally complex solutions. Yet often the most powerful remedies are the simplest ones. A single drop of water means nothing, but consistent drops over time can wear through stone. Similarly, the consistent application of this mental discipline can transform the very structure of your thinking. Begin to carry this awareness with you. When you notice your mind drifting toward unproductive patterns, speak that single word with conviction. Observe how the energy shifts. Notice how much lighter you feel when you're not carrying unnecessary mental burden. With time, you'll find negative thoughts appear less frequently, and when they do, they'll hold less power over you. This is not about denying reality or pretending challenges don't exist. It's about refusing to let your mind become a breeding ground for thoughts that serve no purpose other than to weaken your resolve. The thoughts you entertain become the life you experience. Choose them wisely. The mirror that reflects your future. Each morning presents a choice: to begin your day by accident or by design. Most people stumble through their morning routine half asleep, allowing whatever thoughts happen to surface to set the tone for their day. But there exists a practice so simple yet so profound that it can alter the course of your life: standing before a mirror and speaking deliberate words to your reflection. This is not about reciting empty phrases or pretending to be something you're not. It's about consciously selecting the ideas that will occupy your mind as you enter the day. The words you speak to yourself in those quiet morning moments become the foundation upon which your entire day is built. The practice requires just 2 minutes. Stand before a mirror and make declarations about yourself that are both aspirational and grounded in truth. Not vague generalities like "I'm perfect," but specific statements aligned with who you're becoming. I approach challenges with calm determination. My focus grows stronger each day. I make wise decisions under pressure. There's science behind why this works. When you hear yourself speak words aloud, multiple areas of your brain activate in ways they don't when you simply think those words. The sound of your own voice declaring these truths creates stronger neural pathways than silent thought alone. Over time, these repeated declarations reshape your self-perception at the deepest levels. Consider how most people speak to themselves throughout the day. The internal dialogue often consists of doubt, criticism, and limitation. "I can't handle this," "I always mess up," "nothing ever works out for me." These phrases, repeated often enough, become self-fulfilling prophecy. The morning mirror practice serves as an antidote to this unconscious self-sabotage. The most successful individuals throughout history, though they may not have used mirrors specifically, understood the power of deliberate self-dialogue. They recognized that achievement begins in the mind long before it manifests in the physical world. By consciously directing their inner narrative, they created an internal environment conducive to success. This practice works best when done consistently, ideally at the same time each morning. The repetition is crucial. Just as negative thought patterns develop through repetition, so too must positive ones. The mirror becomes your ally in this reprogramming process, providing visual feedback as you speak these truths to yourself. Some days the words may feel hollow. Speak them anyway. Some mornings you may not believe what you're saying. Say it regardless. The power lies not in your temporary feelings about the words, but in the cumulative effect of hearing them day after day. As you continue this practice, you'll notice subtle shifts in your thinking. Situations that once triggered anxiety may now elicit calm. Challenges that previously seemed overwhelming may now appear manageable. This isn't magic, it's the natural result of reshaping your mental landscape one declaration at a time. The person who stands before the mirror each morning is engaging in the most important conversation of their day, the one they have with themselves. Make it count. Choose words that build rather than tear down, that empower rather than limit. The reflection looking back at you holds unlimited potential. Speak to it accordingly. The 60-second mastery that transforms lives. In the heat of the moment, when emotions surge like a tempest and reason threatens to abandon its post, there exists a simple yet extraordinary power available to all but utilized by few. The power to pause. Not for hours, not for lengthy meditation, but for just 60 seconds of deliberate stillness. This brief intermission between stimulus and response contains within it the seeds of wisdom, the prevention of regret, and the preservation of peace. Consider how most lives unfold, a series of reactions rather than responses. A harsh word spoken in anger that can never be retrieved. A decision made in haste that alters one's financial future for the worse. A relationship damaged by words flung like arrows from a bow drawn too quickly. All these share a common root, the failure to insert that vital space between what happens to us and how we choose to proceed. The practice is deceptively simple yet profoundly transformative. When confronted with any situation that stirs strong emotion, be it anger, fear, or even excessive excitement, train yourself to step back mentally for just 1 minute. In that minute, breathe deeply 3 times. Then ask yourself 2 questions. Will this matter in 7 days? And more importantly, will this matter in 7 years? The answers will astonish you in their ability to recalibrate your perspective. This momentary pause serves as a bridge between the primitive brain that reacts and the evolved mind that considers. It allows the initial wave of emotion to crest and subside, giving your higher faculties opportunity to engage. The greatest leaders, the wisest decision makers, the most emotionally intelligent individuals all share this common trait. They have mastered the art of response rather than reaction. History provides countless examples where 60 seconds of reflection might have altered outcomes dramatically. The business deal signed in excitement without proper examination. The argument that escalated because neither party would take a breath. The investment made in greed or fear rather than careful analysis. All represent failures to employ this simple but vital technique. The beauty of this practice lies in its universal applicability. The parent dealing with a rebellious child, the executive facing a difficult negotiation, the artist confronting creative block, all benefit equally from this momentary stepping back. It requires no special equipment, no particular setting, only the discipline to remember to use it when most needed. With consistent application, something remarkable begins to occur. The pause becomes automatic, the breathing instinctive, the questioning second nature. What began as a conscious effort transforms into an unconscious competence. The individual who masters this finds themselves making better decisions, maintaining stronger relationships, and navigating life's challenges with unprecedented poise. Begin today. Carry this awareness with you. When next you feel that surge of emotion, whether positive or negative, stop, breathe, ask, then proceed. You'll find that most of what seems urgent in the moment loses its power when viewed through the lens of time, and those few things that truly matter, you'll address them with clarity and purpose rather than chaotic emotion. This is not about suppressing feelings or denying their validity. It's about granting yourself the space to respond from your highest self rather than react from your basest impulses. The 60-second pause is the difference between a life of intention and a life of regret. Choose wisely. The sacred hour that cultivates genius. In an age of endless distraction, where the mind is pulled in countless directions from waking until sleep, there exists a practice so countercultural yet so vital that it separates the merely busy from the truly productive. The deliberate cultivation of empty space. Not idle time, not wasted hours, but purposeful solitude where the mind is free from external input and allowed to roam its own landscapes. The concept is simple yet revolutionary. 1 hour each day devoted entirely to oneself, free from devices, free from noise, free from the demands of others. In this sacred space, magic happens, thoughts clarify, creativity stirs, solutions to long-standing problems emerge as if from nowhere. This is not meditation in the traditional sense, though it may include it. This is something far more practical, the intentional creation of mental white space where genius can take root. Consider how most people spend their days, constantly consuming information, perpetually reacting to notifications, endlessly multitasking. The mind becomes like a pond continually disturbed, its waters never settling enough to reflect clearly. The individual wonders why inspiration doesn't come, why decisions feel muddled, why life lacks direction. The answer lies in the absence of stillness. The empty hour operates on principles understood by history's greatest thinkers. It was in solitude that breakthroughs occurred, that masterpieces were conceived, that clarity emerged, not in committee meetings or crowded rooms, but in quiet spaces where the mind could hear its own voice above the din of the world. The practice requires discipline, but yields extraordinary reward. Choose a consistent time each day. Early morning often works best, before the world makes its claims upon you. Find a quiet space, free from interruptions. Bring only a notebook or blank paper. Then simply be. Let thoughts come as they will. Some days you may plan, others you may reflect. Some sessions may produce pages of ideas, while others may pass in comfortable silence. The activity matters less than the space itself. At first this may feel uncomfortable. The mind accustomed to constant stimulation will rebel, seeking distraction. This resistance is precisely why the practice is so necessary, like a muscle atrophied from disuse. Our capacity for deep thought weakens without exercise, but with consistent practice, something remarkable happens. The mind remembers how to think rather than simply react. The benefits compound over time. Solutions to problems that seemed insurmountable appear with surprising ease. Creative ideas flow more freely. Decision-making becomes sharper as the mental clutter clears. Perhaps most importantly, one rediscovers the sound of their own inner voice, that often neglected guide that knows what we truly want and need. This is not withdrawal from life, but preparation for more effective engagement with it. The empty hour doesn't take from your productivity, it multiplies it. Those who practice it consistently find they accomplish more in the remaining hours than they previously did in entire days of frenetic activity. Begin tomorrow. Carve out that hour ruthlessly, guarding it as your most valuable appointment. Start with just a few days a week if necessary, building to the full 7. The changes will come, sometimes dramatically, sometimes subtly, but they will come. In that quiet space, you'll find not emptiness, but the fullness of your own potential waiting to be discovered. The world will try to convince you that constant activity equals productivity, that noise equals importance, that distraction equals engagement. The wise know better. They understand that in the empty spaces, in the quiet moments, true wisdom emerges. Claim your hour. Your future self will thank you. The done list, the forgotten art of recognizing progress. Day after day slips through our fingers like grains of sand, and when night falls, most people make the same tragic mistake. They measure their worth by what remains undone. The unchecked boxes on their lists become chains around their ambition. The incomplete tasks transform into evidence of inadequacy. But there exists a different way, a practice so simple yet so transformative that it can alter one's entire perception of progress, keeping not a to-do list, but a done list. Each evening as the sun dips below the horizon and the world grows quiet, take pen to paper and record not what you failed to accomplish, but what you actually achieved. Not the grandiose victories society teaches us to value, but the small, seemingly insignificant steps forward that truly constitute progress. Wrote half a page, had a difficult conversation with grace, resisted an unhealthy temptation. These are the building blocks of lasting achievement. The mind operates on a fundamental principle. What we focus on expands. When we fixate on our shortcomings, we see more shortcomings. When we train our attention on our forward movements, however small, we begin to notice more opportunities to advance. The done list rewires our perception from one of constant lack to one of steady accumulation. Consider two individuals starting on similar paths. One measures each day by an impossible standard of perfection, constantly berating themselves for what they haven't yet achieved. The other acknowledges each small victory, each step taken in the right direction. Over time, the second individual will develop something the first will not: the unshakable belief in their own ability to progress. This belief becomes the foundation upon which all great achievement is built. There is profound wisdom in recording these daily accomplishments. The act of writing them down makes them real in a way that mere thinking cannot. As your hand forms the words, your mind accepts them as truth. Over weeks and months, these pages become a tangible record of your growth, an antidote to those moments of doubt when progress seems elusive. This practice holds special power because it works equally well in seasons of great productivity and in times of struggle. On days when mountains are moved, the list reflects significant achievements. On more difficult days, when merely getting out of bed required Herculean effort, the list might contain simpler entries: prepared a proper meal or reached out to a friend. Both are equally valid, equally worthy of recognition. The done list serves another vital function. It trains us to value process over outcome. Most worthwhile endeavors cannot be completed in a day, a week, or sometimes even a year. By celebrating the daily contributions to these larger goals, we maintain motivation during the inevitable plateaus, when visible results seem absent. Begin tonight. Take any notebook, any piece of paper, and write down 5 things you accomplished today. Not what you think you should have done, but what you actually did. Do this every evening without fail. Watch as your perception shifts from what's missing to what's present, from what you haven't done to what you're capable of doing. The cumulative effect of this practice is nothing short of remarkable. As weeks turn into months, you'll possess documented proof of your consistency, your resilience, your ability to show up day after day. No motivational speech, no external validation can provide what this simple act does: the quiet, unshakable knowledge that you are moving forward, one small victory at a time. The no complaint challenge, the path to a lighter existence. Words carry weight, not just in how they affect others, but in how they shape our own perception of reality. Most people move through their days unaware of the constant stream of complaints that flow through their minds and spill from their lips, little realizing that each grievance adds another stone to the invisible burden they carry. There exists a powerful antidote to this self-created heaviness: the practice of going an entire day without complaining, not just aloud but even in the privacy of one's thoughts. The challenge appears simple: 24 hours without expressing or indulging in dissatisfaction. But its simplicity belies its transformative power. To refrain from complaining requires something most people rarely exercise: constant awareness of one's own thoughts and words. It demands that we pause before speaking, that we examine our automatic reactions, that we take responsibility for our perceptions. Complaining at its core is the habit of focusing on what's wrong rather than what can be done. It's the mental equivalent of circling a problem without ever seeking a solution. Each complaint reinforces the neural pathways that see lack instead of opportunity, that perceive obstacles rather than challenges to overcome. When we complain about traffic, we reinforce our frustration with circumstances beyond our control. When we grumble about a colleague, we strengthen our tendency to judge rather than understand. The no complaint day reveals startling truths about our patterns of thinking. Most people find the challenge far more difficult than anticipated, not because their lives are particularly burdensome, but because they've trained their minds to default to dissatisfaction. The weather becomes either too hot or too cold, never just weather. The pace of service becomes either too slow or rushed, never just the pace of service. This constant evaluation against some imaginary ideal creates unnecessary suffering. As the hours of the complaint-free day pass, something remarkable begins to occur. The mind, deprived of its usual outlet for dissatisfaction, begins seeking alternative perspectives. The traffic jam becomes an opportunity to listen to an educational program. The rainy day transforms into perfect weather for reading. The challenging coworker becomes a chance to practice patience. Nothing about the external circumstances has changed, only the internal lens through which they're viewed. This practice cultivates two qualities essential for lasting success and contentment: acceptance and initiative. Acceptance of what cannot be changed, and initiative to change what can be improved. The chronic complainer masters neither, trapped in the limbo between resignation and action. The benefits extend beyond mere mindset. Relationships improve when we remove constant criticism. Work environments become more pleasant when we focus on solutions rather than problems. Even our physical health benefits. Studies have shown that chronic complainers experience higher levels of stress hormones, while those who maintain more positive outlooks enjoy stronger immune function. Begin tomorrow. Make the commitment to complete one full day without complaint. When you catch yourself starting to grumble, and you will, pause. Take a breath, ask yourself, is this something I can change? If yes, take action. If no, let it go. The world won't transform overnight, but your experience of it will. With consistent practice, you'll find complaints arising less frequently, replaced by solution-oriented thinking and simple acceptance. The weight you've been carrying, the accumulated grievances large and small, will lighten. You'll discover that much of what you thought was wrong with the world was actually just wrong with your perspective. And in that discovery lies the possibility of a fundamentally different way of moving through life. Lighter, clearer, and infinitely more powerful. The 5-Minute Future, where your tomorrow takes shape tonight. Each night, as the world grows quiet and the distractions of the day fade, there exists a golden window of opportunity. 5 minutes that hold the power to reshape your future. This is not about wishful thinking or vague daydreams, but the deliberate, focused practice of mental creation. In these minutes, you don't just imagine your future, you begin building it in the workshop of your mind. The process is precise. Close your eyes and construct, in vivid detail, scenes from your life 1 year from today. Not general concepts of success or happiness, but specific, tangible moments. See the desk where you'll sit working on meaningful projects. Hear the conversations you'll have with people who matter. Feel the quiet confidence of having overcome challenges that once seemed insurmountable. These mental images, when revisited nightly, become blueprints that your subconscious works tirelessly to bring into reality. There's a profound reason this practice yields results. The mind cannot distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. When you consistently picture yourself acting with confidence, making wise decisions, and achieving your goals, you're actually creating neural pathways as if those experiences had already occurred. This mental rehearsal removes the strangeness from future success, making it feel familiar and attainable when it arrives. Consider how most people approach their futures, reacting to circumstances as they arise, hoping things will work out, wondering why meaningful change remains elusive. Then consider the alternative, consciously designing your tomorrows through nightly mental craftsmanship. The difference between these approaches is the difference between wandering lost in a forest and walking purposefully toward a visible destination. The richness of detail in your visualization matters immensely. Don't just see your future office. Notice the texture of the desk, the quality of the light through the window, the sense of accomplishment as you complete tasks. Engage all your senses. The more real it feels in your mind, the more powerfully your subconscious will work to align your actions with this vision. This practice serves another crucial function. It acts as a daily compass. When you consistently reconnect with your envisioned future, daily decisions begin aligning naturally with that destination. Small choices take on new significance because you recognize them as steps toward what you've already seen in your mind's eye. The person who visualizes speaking confidently before large audiences will find themselves volunteering for presentations. The one who pictures running a thriving business will instinctively notice relevant opportunities. Some nights, the images will come easily. Other nights, they may feel forced. Persist regardless. There will be times when current challenges make future success seem improbable. These are the most important moments to maintain the practice. The greatest value often comes when the vision feels most distant, for this is when it provides the necessary contrast to pull you forward. Begin tonight. Dedicate those last waking minutes to purposeful imagination. Construct your scenes with care, then release them to your subconscious as you sleep. Repeat this process nightly, refining the details as your vision clarifies. Over time, you'll notice something remarkable. The world will begin arranging itself to match your inner picture, not through magic, but because you've become the kind of person for whom that future is inevitable. The 1-second gratitude, training your mind to find gold in every day. Life presents us with countless small gifts each day, most of which pass unnoticed. The warmth of sunlight through a window, the perfect temperature of your morning drink, a stranger's smile as you pass on the street. These moments contain immense power to uplift and transform, but only if we train ourselves to see them. The practice is simple. Whenever something positive occurs, no matter how small, pause for just 1 second and mentally acknowledge it with the word good. This tiny habit creates a seismic shift in perception. Most people's minds are tuned to notice what's wrong. It's a survival mechanism dating back to our earliest ancestors. But in modern life, this predisposition creates unnecessary suffering. We walk through fields of flowers staring at the single weed. The 1-second gratitude practice rewires this automatic negativity by creating a new default, an instinct to spot and acknowledge the good that surrounds us constantly. The mechanism is elegant in its simplicity. Each time you notice something positive and internally say good, you strengthen neural pathways associated with appreciation. Like building any skill, repetition creates proficiency. What begins as conscious effort becomes unconscious competence. Over time, you'll find yourself noticing positive aspects of life that previously escaped your attention entirely. The person stuck in traffic, who once only saw frustration, now notices the interesting architecture of buildings along the route or enjoys the music playing in their car. This practice differs significantly from forced positivity or denial of life's challenges. It doesn't suggest ignoring difficulties or pretending everything is perfect. Rather, it acknowledges that within any circumstance, no matter how challenging, elements worth appreciating exist alongside the hardships. The soldier in wartime appreciates moments of camaraderie. The patient in recovery values a comfortable pillow. Even in darkness, pinpricks of light exist for those trained to see them. The cumulative effect of this practice is profound. Days become collections of acknowledged blessings rather than strings of frustrations. Mood elevates naturally without artificial stimulant. Resilience grows because the mind, accustomed to finding positives, does so even during challenging times. Relationships improve as you notice and appreciate small kindnesses from others that previously went unrecognized. There's a secondary benefit equally valuable. This practice cultivates presence. To spot these small positives requires being mentally where you physically are. The habit pulls you out of rumination about the past or anxiety about the future, and plants you firmly in the present moment, where life actually occurs. The sun's warmth can only be appreciated now. The refreshing sip of water only happens in this instant. Begin immediately. The next time something pleasant occurs, a cool breeze, a well-timed traffic light, a comfortable chair, mentally note good. Let the recognition be swift but sincere. Don't worry about catching every positive moment at first. Even a few daily acknowledgments start the rewiring process. Over time, you'll find these recognitions coming more frequently, until eventually your default setting shifts from noticing what's wrong to spotting what's right. This isn't about denying life's difficulties or pretending challenges don't exist. It's about balancing your mental accounting so that the good receives at least equal attention to the bad. The surprising truth most discover is that the good was there all along. They simply hadn't trained themselves to see it. When you develop this skill, you'll find yourself living in a fundamentally different world, one where abundance replaces scarcity, where opportunities reveal themselves, where others see only lack, all because you took 1 second, again and again, to notice what was always there. These habits take seconds, but their impact lasts decades. The best part? You can start right now. Pick one, try it today, then another. Small steps, big changes.